I'll just do a quick introduction. Okay, so guys, I appreciate you for checking out this video. We're going to get straight into things. Today, I'm joined with Eden. Eden's a sex coach. I came across her interview type of, not really an interview, but it was more of a open discussion on a channel called Basim. And I was interested in her channel when I was going through it. And I thought this would be a good fit because I make content towards attractive guys who are not really receiving any benefit from normal advice from dating coaches, because women, as you can imagine, they don't really entertain attractive guys the same way they do average guys. So I was able to build up a platform from sharing my experiences and other guys relate to my experiences also. So I believe it will be interesting because as a sex coach, and I guess we'll go straight into it, what type of clients do you attract? Is it just average looking guys, or is there some attractive guys in there who are also struggling?
I think there is a common misconception that dating coaches and sex coaches often attract people who might not be attractive and need other skills to pull in people, right? Or might not have social skills, or might be socially awkward perhaps. But that hasn't been the case for me personally. I don't know about other dating coaches. I've actually coached people across the board, men and women equally, but a lot more men in the past few years. And I find them to be generally average attraction in terms of physical appearance, good jobs. You would be surprised. People who have a really great resume, and not just work related, but life experiences. And sometimes they just find that the stuff online, and this is what I love, is the stuff online is catered to a general kind of concept or a general group of people. But we're very unique individuals at the end of the day, and not everything works, right? There's a lid to every pot. And so it's kind of like finding and streamlining your kind of strategy for dating with your past experiences, right? Which obviously affect how you go ahead and date, and kind of switching that up and practicing with somebody who can give you a different perspective and tailor it to you. So generally my people like that I coach are middle-aged. Some of them are younger, but I find the middle-aged people are more, down to pay for my coaching services and get things that, work for them, create a plan, and they're more serious about it. So that's what I love, is that people that come to me are serious about it. You know what I mean? They don't just want to sit, talk, twiddle their thumbs, and do nothing. They realize that other things just didn't work for them, and they want something that's more abrasive, because that's my style. I'm very to the point.
Okay, and if you do have an attractive guy come to see you as a sex coach, what are they typically struggling with?
I think they're usually men who, I guess, went through some tumultuous relationship. I would say that's kind of the common denominator I find. Misconceptions about women, right? Like really big misconceptions that stand in the way of how they pursue women, right? Like they're told that women, think the same way, or, look at certain men this way, or you have to be like this to pull these types of women. And it's just unwiring and relearning that that's not always the case. And it's also, what kind of women are you attracting? Because men oftentimes online, I've noticed, when they give advice about women, they're talking about very specific types of women. We're talking the Insta baddies. We're talking the OnlyFans kind of girls. These are the girls that guys classify as like an 8 to 10. And that's the goal for a lot of them. But I find that's a very young mentality. And you realize very quickly when you start to interact with these types of women that they're not always what you realize that you actually need or want in a relationship. And so that's kind of the biggest issue. Attractive men oftentimes go for attractive women because they want somebody that's equal, or maybe like even slightly above. Most men don't really like to go that much above, I find, but something like that of equal playing field. If I'm good looking, I can get a good looking woman. But what kind of good looking woman? The really good looking women with a brain and head on her shoulders and educated and maybe more modest is not going to be flexing on Instagram. And I think that the way we're taught to date nowadays is very destructive for a lot of men who are attractive, but actually want something more concrete.
Yeah, me personally, I tell attractive guys to date attractive women because I believe there's going to be a lot less problems dating an attractive woman since you're both attractive. I believe if an attractive guy is dating an average woman, there's a lot of insecurities that can take place there. And it's kind of like hell in the relationship. And with the dating, you mentioned earlier that more so in the last couple of years, you've seen a rise in men coming to see you. From these dating coaches, they are communicating that there is a problem with men and dating. So have you seen that from your side?
You know, what I'm going to say is controversial, and a lot of women don't love me on the online sphere. I got to say that as much as we want to say that men are the problem, there are a rise of women being the problem. And I didn't believe it either, because I'm a woman myself, and I have a younger brother who is a gorgeous 25-year-old, man now. And he's out in the dating realm, and he has told me very intimate and personal stories, just like my clients do, but it's a little bit different, obviously. And I am in shock with the type of women that are now like the majority, right? That put themselves out there nowadays, and how they maneuver the dating world. And so, as much as we want to say that maybe there is a problem with men and how they date, it's kind of a circle here. It's the chicken or the egg. Who came first? We can't really blame the man or the woman. I think we're both to blame for how we are nowadays. Women act a certain way to attract men. But then this behavior is not necessarily, applauded by all men, or it's abused by men, right? So it's quite complex. I think that women nowadays have been more problematic, in my opinion. Not saying men get a free pass, it's very subjective, but women, we've got to talk.
And speaking of that, I was watching one of your videos and something came to mind right away when I was watching it. It was a video, and I believe you said something along the lines of most women can't even pleasure themselves and get themselves off when it comes to sex. So they really shouldn't be criticizing men as much as they do. Can you touch more on that? Because that was kind of like music to my ears, if I'm being honest, personally, because I hear women all over social media critiquing men sexually, but as you said, a lot of women can't really get themselves there. So they really shouldn't have as much to say as they do. So please share a bit more on that.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of started with me observing, some of the girls around me when I was growing up. And there was this sort of narrative, right, that really embarrassed men about the size of his penis, or, he really sucked, or he like came after 2 seconds, or I didn't enjoy it because I didn't come, or that. And you start to question, well, why are you going around saying that as if it makes you look better? Because here's the problem, right? It's a double-edged sword. So even if a guy complains about a girl in bed, you fucked her in the first place. You know what I mean? Like, you put yourself in that position. If she was gross, stinky, ugly, stupid, whatever, you did that. So we both have a role to play here. Now, when women go around and complain about how, men's penis size, or he couldn't pleasure me or whatever, I'm like, girl, can you even pleasure yourself? Because you're out here talking a lot about how you're not having successful sex, but where does that come from? What's the common denominator here? Are you picking your partners poorly? Do you not know your body? It is you to blame. And if we are having one night stands, which is the culture nowadays, I'm sorry, not that I promote that, but if you are going to do it, you better know how to make yourself come, guy or girl, because you're wasting your goddamn time. And I'm telling you, for my ladies, it's even more embarrassing for you, because you're out here shaving your whole body head to toe, taking care of yourself, spending hundreds on makeup, doing your hair for a one-night stand, okay? And you can't make yourself come. So here's the thing. Don't put yourself in that position in the first place then, my love. Get a vibrator, figure out your body, use your hands, use your imagination, and then go from there.
What are your opinions on, firstly, I would like to know your opinions on men who consume pornography and women who consume pornography, because that was another video that's seen. I didn't get too deep into the video, so I'd like you to share your opinions on that. Me personally, I preach for attractive guys not to even be watching that, because the stuff you're watching that you can actually go out there and do. Mostly average guys, I would imagine, would be watching, even though a lot of attractive guys watch it. I'd imagine average guys to be watching that type of stuff, because it's kind of harder for them to do what they're seeing in these videos. But that's mainly what I preach. I'd just like to know your opinions, firstly on men and then women watching that type of content.
Well, for both men and women, just off the bat, porn consumption has been shown within studies and demonstrated over time. I mean, even personally, if you reflect on your sexual satisfaction in all areas of your life, or even intimacy, how you date, things like that, porn consumption itself has damaged your brain in general, has rewired, how our pleasure, systems work, you know, our reward systems. And that I have a whole episode on that, and that goes into great detail, and it's quite wordy, and there's a lot going on with that. However, men that watch porn, in my opinion, you can tell in the bedroom. And this is something that men don't know, that some women who are, I guess, more sexually versed, or maybe a little bit more in tune with, you know, connecting with their partner in the bedroom, can actually tell. So, you know, personally, I'll speak for myself. In past experiences, I know the men that were heavily consuming porn just by the way they fuck in the bedroom. It is not organic. It is not fun. It is a show. It's like one position to the next. It is like trying to replicate what they saw on me, and I'm not that person. So it just fucking feels awkward, and it's never hot. They think it is, you know. And here's the thing: porn, just like a movie. You know what I mean? When you watch a movie, are you really going to run in the fields in slow motion in real life? No, right? So what makes you think that this porn movie, where there is cameras everywhere, even if they say, no, I was sneaking the camera, or whatever the hell their titles are on porn nowadays, it's all fake. It's all fake. And we're sold this fake reality of things, you know. And then you start looking at women as, oh, well, she doesn't have triple Z size boobs, she's not hot. You know, it fucks you up. It fucks you up. And you can't actually enjoy sex anymore after a while, because you need some sort of extreme visual stimulation. So in general, honestly, long story short, porn is crap for average looking men, ugly men, hot men, smart, intelligent men, women in general, women as well. It affects women differently. I don't think that they struggle with porn addiction as much as men do. And that's a statistic in and of itself. Most women do watch porn. They will lie to you and say they don't. You know, every woman has at one point in their life for sure crossed online on one of those pages and seen a thing or two. The truth is women kind of get a little bit more uncomfortable about it, because it is more targeted to a male audience in general. So I don't endorse it, because here's the thing: for those women that don't know how to, you know, come in the bedroom or orgasm or pleasure themselves, a lot of it is because you're relying on visual stimuli. You can't think for yourself. You can't explore your body. You know what I mean? When you rely on somebody else to create a scenario in your head, when it comes to your game in the bedroom, you're a lot weaker, and it shows.
Yeah, I'd personally say for women as well, I've personally seen a rise in women on social media basically saying they want these enormous penises, basically. Like they want 10 inches, 11 inches, 12 inches.
They've never fucked then. They've never fucked. They're virgins.
It's kind of like if you've got even an above average penis, that's small to them nowadays. So I think porn personally is affecting women in that department, because they have unrealistic expectations when it comes to the bedroom.
Mm-hmm. Well, the funny thing is I ask women when they say, oh, you know, like, this is the perfect size for me, and they'll pull out like 7 inches, 8 inches. They'll say inches. Okay. And you ask them, show me what 7 inches is to you. Okay. And they'll go like this. Okay. Like a you know, a foot long sub. And then I tell them, well, 7 inches actually isn't that. It's probably the size you fucked last night that you said was too small. So the education there is off. Okay. And yes, porn does show them you know, these big penises, and they do all kinds of weird tricks and stuff for you guys. I don't know. But here's the thing: when it comes to sex, there are limitations with being big, as well as limitations being small, you know, limitations being average. There is going to be certain positions that are not going to be as comfortable, as easy, as, you know, whatever, fun as it was with another penis. And that's kind of the beauty of it, right? When you have mind-blowing great sex, it's because the way her vagina is, it's like maybe graphic, but inside of her vagina is shaped differently, just like your penis is shaped differently. And so sometimes there's a harmonious connection. Sometimes there isn't. Sometimes the things you were into doesn't work with this person, but you can pivot. And because if you don't watch porn, your creativity levels are already higher, because you have to imagine things, right? You have to force yourself to go to those realms and to explore what you actually are into, not what you're told you might be into. Then you can figure it out. But we're limited all the time, because we're told big penis equals more pleasure. Actually, for those that have actually fucked, a big penis can be quite painful and quite uncomfortable and not successful. Some women can handle it in certain positions, but you got to know your positions, you know? So that's my thing on big penises. And girls that talk about big penises, I'm sorry, are liars. They've never fucked a big penis. Best sex for women who are actually honest will tell you it's average, if not below average, always, because you can do a lot more and you can feel a lot more comfortable exploring.
I'd like to ask you this one thing. When it comes to men realizing that porn isn't the way, and let's say a guy has been in a relationship and he wants to build intimacy again with his partner once he stops participating in that website, what steps can he take to build intimacy with his partner when it comes to rewiring his brain, because his brain's going to be damaged from the porn? How can he build intimacy with his partner, with her partner, once again?
Well, it looks different for everybody, but what I find is for men that, quit porn, for the next few months, your body will be kind of balancing itself out. You will feel it physically, mentally, and emotionally. And you can read, there's plenty of groups. It's going to sound kind of cheesy, but there are support groups and there are threads online that, real men are out there talking about, okay, I'm on like month 2 of no porn and I get a boner now when the wind blows. You know what I mean? Like, guys, remember that when I was 16? Like, no, So they start to regain sensitivities and, sometimes their sex drive dips before it rises again. And so they have to go through this. And if their partner knows that they're going through this, that's great because they can be on that journey and understand that. A lot of times I find women get offended when their man isn't super horny around them all the time. They think it's something to do with them. So if you are in a relationship, you want to communicate that first and foremost. In order to build intimacy, my biggest thing is have discussions. Me and my partner do this, and we've been dating for a few years now. We live together. It's not what it used to be, but we try and keep it up. And we are spontaneous because we both enjoy the spontaneity of things. We sit down and have conversations about it. We flirt, we sext still, and we try and make that a point. You have to make it a priority if you want to build that intimacy. Everyone thinks that it's supposed to come natural because you've experienced the honeymoon phase, here and there with some random girl you met at a bar and you started sexting and texting. That the reality is that shit fades pretty quickly if you haven't already experienced that and if you don't already know that. And when you are with a person that you choose to be with, you have to choose them and prioritize pouring into that relationship in terms of intimacy as well. So it might feel like a little bit of hard work, but once you get the gears going and you get a flow going, it's honestly amazing. And it keeps that spark in the bedroom alive. It comes down to creativity and knowing what you and your partner are into. So do you know that? Do you even know what you're into? Like, that is the biggest problem too, because once you quit porn, you're like, oh, I used to search this all the time, or this was always shown to me. You were told what might turn you on, but there's a whole other fucking world in your brain that you haven't tapped into, right? That the porn website can't even tell you. And so that comes down to, okay, figure out what you're into, speak to your partner about it, explore. And then last but not least, do you know the female body and the male body? This is education that we're not told. We're told what the penis looks like and what the vagina looks like, but we are not told about erogenous zones. And these are sexually stimulating points in your body that are outside of your penis and vagina, okay? There's many points in the body. Do you know what your partner's into? Did you know that maybe like her neck is a super stimulating area? And if you do that while doing what you usually do in the bedroom, it can feel like a whole new experience. You don't need to like change everything. It's just little increments here and there. Switch it up, then go back to basics. Switch it up and then go back. And that kind of flow keeps things feeling new and fresh. There's way too much pressure out there to act like a fucking porn star in the bedroom all the time. And the problem with that is that, again, you're going up this ladder of, okay, can I do more? Can I do more? Can I do more? Here's the thing. You'll never be satisfied. Sex will always be shit. Okay? So don't fall into that and quit porn.
And you mentioned there while you were speaking that you should find what you're into as a man. Me personally, I would say to go out there and get experience with women. I know it kind of came across like you didn't really agree with hookups. What other alternatives would you say for men to take to get that experience, to find what they like, if you don't necessarily agree with hookups?
It's not that I don't agree with hookups. I just think that a lot of people don't know how to do hookups right. There's a lack of respect in general for both men and women, making men and women hate each other over the years. And we've seen that, and resenting each other and therefore continuously treating each other like shit. So that's my problem with hookups in general. I'm not against it. Have I hooked up when I was single? Absolutely. Have I done it graciously, do I regret a hookup? Honestly, not really, because I was thinking things through and I wasn't going to let a man into my bedroom unless it was vetted, you know, and everything was good on both ends.
Yeah.
So I do agree that hookups can give you certain experiences. I just think that you have to, when you're masturbating, okay, because I'm not against masturbating, masturbate without porn. This is where you learn about your body, because not only are you getting in touch with your mental, because you have to think of things and figure out what you like and explore certain fantasies, you're also touching yourself. So you're connecting mind and body, right? So this is extremely important, and it's healing for a lot of men who have been addicted to porn. It's important to really get into that. So when you're masturbating, explore things, okay? And people get really uncomfortable and people feel shameful about masturbating. Even after porn, you know, I'm sure most guys, they close the computer right after and they feel kind of grossed out and uncomfortable. That's unhealthy. That's not normal, right? That's not normal, but we've all experienced that.
Yeah. I think this is where we'll have a difference in opinions. Because me personally, I think masturbation doesn't really affect females apart from the unrealistic expectations. I think the actual art, if you want to call it that, for lack of a better term right now, if you want to call it that, I think the actual act of doing that, I think it can cause erectile dysfunction in the bedroom. I believe there's this thing called tight death grip, I believe, if you've heard of that, something like that. And it can actually affect you better. Pardon?
Like not masturbating, like with staining.
No, I'm saying with the actual masturbation. So I'm saying I don't think it really affects females too much apart from the unrealistic expectations, but I do think it will affect men doing that. Not if it's constantly, I think it will affect them, but if it's every now and then, I don't think it will really have much of an effect. But if it's
that's what I'm saying. Like the reason why people think masturbating every day, several times a day is normal is because of porn, right? Because when you're bored, lonely, angry, sad, you need a distraction, you go for porn. And porn is everywhere. You pull your phone out every 5 minutes. You go to the freaking washroom with your phone. You know what I mean? Like you can't leave your phone as if you're the goddamn president of the United States. Like you're so important. You don't need the phone in the washroom. So what I'm saying is masturbating once in a blue moon to get creative, or when you feel like it's time or in the mood, that's fine. If you're doing it all the time, of course it's going to cause problems. I don't disagree with you whatsoever. I think for women, it's super important to touch themselves and to explore their body, because half of the women out here don't know. Like they're scared of their own body, you know? So when it comes to being in the bedroom, they're always going to blame the guy and be unsatisfied. And men, you also need to know what you like, what you don't like, so that you can also communicate in the bedroom with her. Because some women are out here guessing, you know, and doing all kinds of stuff that worked on their ex, but it's not going to work on you. You're a different man. And so you owe it to each other, if you want a good sexual experience, to communicate. It doesn't mean do this, do that. It means, you know, encourage her when things are feeling good. More of that, you know, like sexy little banter like that is important. So I think in order for you to know that, you have to do some work on your own.
Yeah, it's crazy you said that, because we're not going to go into a long story time, but just a short, quick story time. I was hooking up, and when I was hooking up with this one woman, I don't know if she's going to see this, but when I was hooking up with this one woman, I could literally see her shaking. She was nervous. She eventually wasn't nervous, and it was all right, but she was nervous. So it does kind of show that some women may not know their bodies. And I want to ask you something as well from the perspective of a sex coach. When someone approaches you, because you mentioned something about vetting, what do you vet for if you're gonna sleep with a guy? What do you necessarily look for?
Well, I mean, it's personal. Every woman is different. So my vetting process, you know, when I was single and who I would sleep with, is probably different than the next woman. But for me, I needed comfortability, because in order for me to enjoy sex, and I'm pretty comfortable in the bedroom, obviously, with what I do and just the person I've always been. Sex for me is like expressive and not, because I'm not a lovey romantic person. So for me, sex can be very full of emotion. You know what I mean? So it's very important to me, and I need to make sure I'm comfortable and to have the best sex of my life. And I think for anyone to experience the best sex of their life, or to get as close to that, you really need to feel comfortable, right? Because what's the hottest thing for a girl to do is to like really be in it. Her eyes are rolling back. She's just making faces naturally, not trying, you know what I mean? Not forcing moans. It's just coming out. That's when you're comfortable. And same as a man, you know, it's really hot for women to see the man really enjoying it without forcing faces and noises, and you know, shit gets weird. So for me, I have to be comfortable with that person. That means I'm probably going to go on a date or two with you. I'm probably going to feel you out. I am not going to go home with some guy I met at a fucking bar or a club that night, because for me, it's disgusting. Sweaty balls. You're out here dancing around. Like, I don't know you, you know, safety. I don't want you to think that I'm some girl you can just pick up and whatever. If you really want me, we'll exchange numbers that night and we'll see tomorrow what's going on. We'll see the next day. That's my vetting process to see if this man is somewhat of quality. He could not be, and this is just his move. Fine. But for me, that's what gave me some sort of comfortability at the time when I was single, when I was hooking up. And then how he treats me, you know, does he just come tell me to get out? You know, trust me, I don't want to stay, but is there some sort of respect mutual here before and after and during, you know? And to me, that's top quality in that regard, because then here's the thing. If we want to do it again, I'm down, no strings attached. So the way you treat a woman before and after is sometimes even more important than the sex itself. Because if a woman is comfortable and if a woman feels like, all right, I'm not being disrespected, you know, and he's being very clear about that this is just a fuck thing in a nice way. You can be nice about it. You know, if the girl's crazy, the girl's crazy. Okay, tell her to go home. But you got to do your part, right? And so if a man does that and says from the get-go, hey, listen, you know, we're just having fun and I'm really enjoying it, as long as you're cool with that, I'm turned on. Oh, wow, an honest man, you know? And then you have a fuck buddy for the next few months. Why not? So for me, this is a smart, respectful man who knows what he wants, tells it like it is. Simple. Like, that's how I would vet it. Now, does it always go according to plan? Absolutely not. Is it bulletproof? No, nothing it is really, you know? But that's kind of what has worked for me and what makes me feel comfortable, so I can enjoy the fuck session. Because this is not just about the man and impressing him. I don't give a shit about him at the end of the day. He doesn't give a shit about me at the end of the day. So I want to make sure that this experience allows me to fully enjoy what's about to happen.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you when it comes to the comfortability aspect. I believe that's why you even see some women who date the bad boys, etc. I believe they date those type of guys because they can feel comfortable around those guys. Whereas maybe some guys over on another side have got a great job and everything, but they don't necessarily think they can be themselves around those type of guys. So I think that's why you see a lot of women attracted to bad boys also. And what would you say is your opinion on body count? Do you think it's something that should matter? Or it shouldn't? What are your opinions on body count?
Okay, so men don't like when I say this. My truth is like, as long as you're clean, I don't want to know, and you shouldn't want to know mine. Because if I tell you the truth about mine, you're going to think I'm lying, or, you know, and if I tell you less, whatever, you're going to think anyway, you're going to think I'm lying regardless. You're going to think I'm a hoe, or I'm lying because it's too small in comparison to what men think average women. I don't know. For me, I'm a little bit maybe old fashioned in this regard. I don't think having a big body count list is something to brag about for men or for women. I think for women, yes, it is different in terms of sex. Someone's entering you. There is a lot more going on for the woman. And unfortunately, in our day and age, we can't deny the fact that we are judged based off of our body count. You can hate that fact. Absolutely. I hate it too. But at the same time, I'm not going to be dumb and be like, well, it shouldn't be like that. So I'm going to fuck as many guys as I want, because fuck that. Fuck the patriarchy. Like, you know what? You either play, like, you know the game, so play within it. You know what I mean? Like, use it to your advantage and don't be stupid. I think a lot of girls fuck way too young, and therefore they build up this body count of like wasteful fucks. You know what I mean? Like, it's not enjoyable. You're stupid. You don't know your body. Men-wise, here's the thing. I know in one of your videos, I actually saw one of your videos, and you said something about how women's body count are a lot bigger actually than men's sometimes.
Yeah, I believe if we take the average woman and the average guy, the average woman has she has a bigger body count than the average guy. 100%.
Probably women in the States, in LA or New York, because I personally don't know any woman in my life, okay, who has a bigger body count than the average man I know in my life. So for me, there was a disconnect there. And I don't think you're wrong, because I think this new generation, it's a lot different, 100%. That's why I blame a lot of women on certain things that they've been doing recently and I've heard are trendy and girls think it's hot. And I see these girls going out and trying to get with guys like that's their mission, like dogs, you know what I mean? Where that was the man not too long ago. Like what happened here? There's such an imbalance in masculinity and femininity, and it's a fucking disaster. But here's the thing. I don't want to know my man's body count. I know it's higher than mine. I don't need to know. I don't want to know. And I don't think anyone should know, as long as who they are now and the past is cleared up and there's no baggage and who they are now is good. Do you know what I mean? You respect the way they are when they're single, when they're in a relationship, they seem like a decent human being with a head on their shoulders. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Like people, my body count is a lot lower than people think, a lot lower, and no one will believe me. So I don't even bother saying it. What's the point? You know, I've had great sex. Here's the thing. I might have more sex than you, but my body count is lower. What does that mean? I don't fuck several different guys. I fuck one guy for a while, because for me, you gain better sex each time by getting to know them. So maybe I fucked more, but the amount of guys, I'm sorry. There's not enough. Like, I'm sorry. I don't know how many guys would deserve me, and not in a cocky way, you know? Like, you got to earn it in a way. And so do girls. Like, guys have to be a little bit more selective with who they put their penis inside, because it lowers your value just as much as it lowers women's.
Explain that. Why do you think it lowers it? Me personally, I believe if a guy is sleeping around, it should be for procreation. Maybe that's what you believe. Like, you want to have multiple women, you want a big family. I think that's the only time I would actually understand it. I think if you just want to do that just to do it, it is childish to an extent. Like, what are you actually doing it for? You're just releasing nuts. But if it's for procreation, I can understand it. That's my personal opinion. But
yeah,
why do you think it increases your value?
Here's the thing. Procreation. I love that argument that men say. None of you guys want to keep the kid. None of you guys want to have the kid, right? Like, everyone double wraps it up, watches her take the pill. So it's not for procreation. I love that. Yes, biologically speaking, why a man might have, like, it's in his nature. Yeah, when you were a monkey, when you were an animal, right? When you were in the wild, absolutely.
Oh, I'm not to cut you off, but are you talking about just men who are sleeping around?
Yeah. I thought that's
what I don't think most of them are doing it for procreation either.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not to cut you off, but continue.
No, absolutely. So I think, like, for me, if I knew that my man slept with like 100 women, it would kind of turn me off a little bit, right? And I think it makes most women uncomfortable, because it's like, well, why did it took you 100 women to find a woman to settle down with? Or even if you had a hoe phase, which everyone has, and I'm not against it. Again, like, I'm not a fucking grandma. I'm not against it. But I think, like, it's kind of quality over quantity. Let's see the girls you fucked. And most of them, you would never dare show me, because you're embarrassed. So here's the thing. If you have a healthy body count, but the girls are of quality, and it's not Instagram famous, and it's not big tits, big ass, she's got a job, she's smart, she's a grown woman. All right, you've got points.
They're a bit harder to get, so most guys won't go for that.
Exactly. So then what? So you're just fucking for what? To fuck? To add to your little notes in your phone? At the end of the day, it's a maturity thing. A grown man is going to be like, listen, it's not worth it for me to go through the fucking headache of some random chick who's probably going to be a pain in the ass afterwards to get rid of. I could just do my thing. Or I know some women who I've built connections with who are grown women and comfortable to have maybe those friends with benefits things happen through over the years. Like, it's a maturity thing, you know? And fine, you did that when you're younger, as long as you grow from that. But if you're still fucking around like that, late 20s, early 30s, into your 30s, there's something wrong with you. You know, say what you will, I think.
Personally, I agree with you once again. And I don't think there's any, I made a video on this recently on my channel. It's why women hate handsome men who ain't toxic. And within that video, I said that I basically expressed what I've been feeling, and that's that as men, I believe let me find the right words to say this. I believe they're kind of programming us in a way to believe that's an accomplishment, sleeping with a bunch of women. I've been realizing it myself. It's not really, it's kind of a headache, because I'll have an opportunity to invite a woman over, but a lot of this won't get done, that won't get done. I'm like, why am I still doing this? I'm gonna get a nice feeling like for 5-10 minutes, but why else am I doing this? And it's like, when you really think about it, I think a lot of it stems from just programming. I don't think there's any actual, you don't really gain much from sleeping around. Experience, yes, but at some point it's not experience anymore. You're just doing it just to do it.
Well, dare I say that I believe, hot or not, men
Yeah.
who feel like they need to sleep with a new woman every week or whatever, I believe they're the most insecure people on the planet. Why, like you said, why am I doing this? Like, let's get to the root of this. So, what would you say in your therapist's office?
Are you saying like men who've had the experience, or
No,
like
no,
guys who don't have experience?
well, either or. Those that feel like they need to and pursue that and make that their goal. They constantly need a girl on their phone. They constantly need to be fucking somebody or being in the process of getting to, fuck them. It's like this pursuit with no end, because here's the reason why you keep doing it. It's not ever satisfying whatever itch you're trying to fulfill. The truth is there's a lot more problems that you have going on deep internally that you don't want to reach, and you'll never reach because you're way too on the surface, and it's easy to distract with porn, sex, and women. And these are just headaches and things that don't benefit you in the future. So if you're actually a smart person, or you want to be a successful person, or you want to be of value, what you're doing right now is wasting time. And people who are of value don't like to waste their time because their time is valuable. So if this is not for a greater purpose that's going to benefit the future you, what are we doing it here for? Right? You've got something. It makes you feel good for 2.5 seconds. You think you're the man because you got this woman. You got bragging rights in the group chat. That's embarrassing. In a few years, that's going to be embarrassing, my friend. So I just think a lot of people, if you need to get out of your system, do it with grace, and be respectful about it. But also know there's a cap, and understand why you're doing what you're doing, for once in your life. Why do we watch porn? We don't know. We just do it because we're on autopilot and we're horny. Dick up, brain off. That's a problem. Because if dick up, brain off, you're in situations in the future it's going to fuck you up. Right? So I know I kind of like went into all different areas here, but I do think it's a bigger issue. And people are like, nah, it's not that serious. Okay, because here's the thing. You don't go that deep. You're scared to go that deep. That's where it comes from. These are types of men and women as well who I don't fuck with, who I can't relate to, who I will never relate to. I'll always be 10 steps ahead of them because they're always going to put themselves 10 steps behind. That's the type of people that they are.
Yeah, I personally believe that men should get experience, but once it goes past experience, I do believe there's not much to gain. Once you've gained experience, you've seen certain patterns, you've understood how to move. I don't believe there's much to gain after that. But when it comes to just saying I'm not going to do that anymore, I do believe women are in a more luxurious place to say that, because I believe women can be more confident saying I'm not sleeping around because it's so abundant to them. I think with most guys, it's not really abundant to them, so they do kind of have to get that itch off in a sense because it's not abundant to them. And most guys don't have that opportunity till they kind of make something of themselves. So I believe that's why a lot of guys feel like they need to get that itch off, because it's not really abundant to them.
I don't disagree with you. I've never been a man, so I can't tell you how it must feel maybe to feel like it's not abundant to you. As a woman, I don't think it matters if you are good looking or not. I think that if you have a hole to fuck, unfortunately, as vulgar and terrible as that sounds, that is the world that we live in, and somebody will be a taker with that. No problem. You just say the word and there's no question. So I get that, but that also comes with its own issues, and men don't like when women talk about that because oh my God, wow, it must be so hard to be, to get fucked or want to get fucked all the time, like whatever, sure, but here's the thing, like in terms of experience, I think, and there's a saying that girls say, locker room girl talk, and this might not be news to you, but girls say that the guys that have been in long-term relationships fuck the best. And it's true. Why? Because when they're with one woman for a longer period of time than several one-night stands, they actually get to explore a woman's body more, right? Whereas one night stands, you do what works for you. You make the most out of it with whatever you can, and then you call it quits. So you never go farther than that one night stand. And one night stands are never going to be incredible. I don't care what anyone says. Anyone says that, wow, that one night stand was fucking wild. No, it wasn't. Because here's the thing. In comparison to what? Other one night stands? The cap is really low with a one night stand potential. You know what I mean? So in my opinion, so I think people who are, I'm talking sexually versed, I'm talking experience, real experience, not, hey, I slept with Stacy, Casey, and Macy. You know what I mean? I'm talking, I know a woman's body. I can fuck pretty well. I know my body. I know certain positions. I know what works, what doesn't for me and for most women. That's experience. That's valuable information for you as a man, right? I know how to, what women like. I know the inner workings of them. You can't know that from a one night stand. When you have a girlfriend or somebody longer, right? You get to know more in depth, how they tick, what makes them work, what doesn't. That is valuable. And that's experience. So I'm not telling people get into relationships and whatever. Do it if it makes sense. But we do when we're younger. Is it going to withstand the test of time? Are you going to marry them? No. Why are you guys so scared? Not you, but a lot of guys I find are so scared of commitment. You're not marrying them. Chill. It's dating. It's called dating for a reason. Oh, I need to get to know them before I date and put a title on it. What do you mean? Back in the day, there was no such thing as put a title. We're boyfriend and girlfriend officially. No, if I've been seeing you for a while consistently, then eventually we don't want to see other people and we give it a shot. If it doesn't last past 3 months, big whoop, move on. I find that men and women are so fucking weak nowadays. You guys are so scared of heartbreak. Like, if that's what you're scared of, you've got a bigger fish to fry in your life, my friend. You know what I mean? Like, life isn't easy and a heartbreak is this small in comparison to life. So chill out.
In regards to that, what would be your opinion on relationships in today's society? Because me personally, growing up, I definitely wanted a family, and I still do want a family, but it's just like, I think to myself, how am I going to get that family without a relationship? It's just, I'm going to need to be in a relationship because that's the way it's going to have to be. And the reason I'm thinking that is because I'm just seeing what's going on in today's society. So I don't really think it's a smart idea for me right now, at least, to get into a relationship. What is your opinion on relationships in today's society?
If there's a will, there's a way. Okay. If you want it, there's another person on this planet. There's 7 billion people. You're not a unique individual. There's somebody else out there who wants the same things and has the same values, morals, and philosophies about family and relationships. Okay. So first of all, stop thinking with a lack mindset for a lot of people. I think that's the number one thing, as cheesy and whimsical and TikTok as that fucking sounds. It's true. A lot of you guys are like, well, no girl's loyal. No guy's loyal, and it makes me laugh. Are you loyal? If you're not loyal, then 100% go ahead and say that. And if all the girls you've dated are not loyal, then why don't you be mindful of who you attract? Take a look at yourself. What kind of girls are you going for? What image do you have out there? That shit's important, right? Yeah. This impacts the people you attract. This impacts how you are in relationships. Do you have baggage? Do you've got girls in your DMs? Is your Instagram full of hoes in your comments? What kind of girl is going to be okay with that? What normal girl is going to be okay? None. So you're going to get the same Insta whatever, okay? I'm sorry I call them Insta because I don't know what else to call them. I don't want to call them whores or bitches. I don't, whatever. I have to be careful nowadays.
You can use whores if you like. I think that's an appropriate term, but
you know what I mean? So like attracts like. If you're not serious, if you're living a lifestyle that ain't serious, you're not going to attract serious. So just drop it and maybe don't get into a relationship. There are people that are loyal. And yes, divorce rates are rising and this and that. Okay. 100%. Why? Many factors, financially, economically, no. But if we're looking at, I guess, your age range and all of that, what are you guys using all the time? Your social media, online, nonstop scrolling. Instagram is soft porn. Twitter has porn. It's porn. You live life in a porn world, and all of you guys are consuming porn. So yeah, relationships are going to be a lot difficult, a lot more challenging. You're not going to be able to keep your eye on one prize. Everything that's shiny, even though it's tinfoil in the grass, you're going to run to it just to be disappointed, and you won't learn your lesson. So you really have to go in there with tunnel vision and choose somebody and have them choose you and state your morals and your fucking values and make that your non-negotiable. I came into my relationship and my man, he, love him to death, but his past, he was a professional athlete. He is a professional athlete. So he did get attention, from girls, and he could get whatever girl he wants, whatever. He chose me, a girl who's like dead ass serious, like a tough girl, a little scary to some people. But the truth is I stated what I want. I said, if that doesn't work for you, no problem. And that made him, whoa. And suddenly from, I guess, being a little player, I didn't have to do anything. I stated what I wanted, and he realized, wow, you know what? All these other airheads I've maybe been with or whatever doesn't work for me, didn't fulfill me. Woke up one day, on his own. So there is a way, and you find people in the most weird ways. We met unintentionally. Did I want to seriously date at the time? No, but I didn't have a closed mind. I allowed it to go from, hooking up to now I live with him. I moved for him. It happens. And I just think that you have to go in there being pretty secure with who you are and what you want. If there's something that doesn't make sense, and it's not being a dick. Okay. A lot of girls are like, if he doesn't buy me a Birkin, like, bitch, who are you? Okay. Like, humble yourself. You got to know your limits. You got to know what you have to offer men and women, and make sure that you're not sitting there demanding something that you yourself can't do, because that doesn't make sense. So no, first of all, I call it playing field. And I use that a lot on my channel. There's playing fields. Yes, there is a social hierarchy and there is a dating hierarchy. Where are you on the pyramid? Play on that level till you elevate. When you elevate, then you can start tapping into those types of women or those types of men. But you have to have certain qualities, a certain mindset to enter that level. Okay. So a lot of guys, I think what they do with dating, and this is why they find dating so unsuccessful, is they go for like the physically attractive, which is great. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I think it's important for men to date somebody they're physically attracted to, but they're missing the whole other part of the woman. Like, what else do you want from this woman? And what about you? Do you think that woman will want you? What do you bring? Who are you? How is your life looking? You got to check yourself. So the reason why dating is not successful and relationships are difficult, they're not impossible, and I'm not against it. I think it's mandatory for a lot of people. And I think men and women need each other. It's important in a household as well, as much as we don't want to admit it, it's true. I think that you need to check yourself, make sure you're in a headspace and in a situation where you can attract the type of person you want, and then go and be really strict with yourself and have tunnel vision for that. If you want it badly enough. Now, listen, if you don't, then don't listen. Just keep doing what you're doing till one day you wake up at age 50, 60 and you're like, fuck, I'm lonely. Okay.
Yeah. When you was describing how you and your partner came together, it sounded like you didn't play any games at all with him. From your perspective, why do women play games with guys that they do perceive to be attractive? I've found that when a woman finds a guy attractive, instead of just communicating how she feels, she'll kind of play a game with him that she might not necessarily play with an average looking guy. Why do you think that happens from your perspective, if you think that happens?
Okay, so toxic games equals toxic person. Okay, it's that simple. So if somebody is, and I'm not saying toxic like, oh my God, she's like a little hoe and she's not loyal. That's not always what I mean by toxic. Sometimes women are insecure. I mean, a lot of times they are. Most people are. And, we're all working on doing and being better. But if she's coming at you with games, it's because she doesn't think that she can win you over just doing her. You know what I mean? Because it hasn't worked in the past with the types of guys she is attracted to, maybe just physically on the surface. And that's a lot of the girls' game, right? Did I play games with my man? No. But was I a little bit more harder to jump into bed with? Yeah. But that's because that's how I am unless I'm comfortable and know you. So it's not a game, right? I was fun. I was flirty. Did I take him super seriously at the beginning? No. And I didn't expect him either. I came in with no expectations. So there was no disappointment. I just did me. You like it? Great. You don't? No worries. I'm not going to be butthurt about it. The problem is women play games because actually, and here's the thing, guys and girls, we all play the same games. We all know the games. Yeah, we act like we don't, okay, which is pathetic.
I'm gonna lie. It's crazy you said that, because I was kind of thinking that today we kind of do know what we're getting. As guys, we know we're getting into games sometimes as well, yeah.
Like, the play. We've all done it, and it's never new. Yeah. So we know this person is putting on some sort of whatever because for whatever reason, they themselves don't have the balls to just do them. So you're a little bit uncomfortable and insecure with yourself. That's what it tells me. And me, I'm not saying I don't have insecurities. I absolutely do. I'm not the hottest, smartest, best thing that's walked the planet. I'm very well aware. But I know who I am, and I've worked really hard on cultivating that. And I don't really want to fuck with people who don't fuck with me. So I've narrowed it down for myself. That's my motto, and I follow those rules, right? Like, even if I'm just fucking around, you know, like there have been times where guys rejected me and I have no problem with that. Like, great. Okay, cool. Cause I don't take rejection as a hit to my ego. I'm like, all right, like, great. We're not going to work on the bedroom anyways. Let's say, like, okay, like one less person that texts, one less headache. Great. Like, I look at it like that. You know, I had to when I was younger. Did I? No, probably not. I probably went through a few ego hits and shit like that. Of course, you know, the hot guy in the school didn't like me. I was a weird skater girl with short hair. Like, I've been through like my phases, but I've learned and I've used who I am and my quirkiness and my uniqueness to my advantage. So, like, for example, you know, I once when I was single, and this is very me, I'm very like abrasive and to the point. Some guys love it, some guys hate it. Great. Like, I've already, and I like to say filtration process, I've already narrowed down my options here. So all those guys would have been a waste of time for me to figure out anyways, because I value my time. So, okay, the more rejection I get, the less option I have. Therefore, these are the guys that can zoom in on, spend more time on, let's say. So I was out once, it was Halloween. I think I told this story on my channel before. And I don't usually pick up guys. It's just old fashioned.
I was going to ask that because do you approach?
So this time I did. And this is like, it just depends on my feel, my mood. Sometimes I'm just like, oh, he's really intriguing, or, oh, you know what? Not intriguing enough for me. And that's fine. He was sitting in a corner. It was like a bar corner in a booth by himself. He had friends that would come in and out of the booth, but like, he just was not loving the scene. And I love that about him. For me, a man who like likes to party, whatever, that's just not my cup of tea, you know? I'm really loud and obnoxious sometimes. And so I want a man who's not like that, obviously. So he's sitting in the corner doing his own thing and he's eyeing me the whole time, but not creepy. Like, he'd look up and then like when I would look at him, he'd kind of like, you know, like get uncomfortable. And I found it really sweet and cute. Okay. For whatever reason, maybe I'm into weirdos. And then, you know, the whole night was happening and I was getting pissed off. I was like, this guy's too pussy to fucking come up to me. Like, oh my God, so annoying. You know, he's so cute. He's doing his own, he hates being here. Like, that's such a me vibe. Love him, whatever. I'm putting on my coat. I'm looking at him like I'm fucking leaving. He's not doing anything. So anyways, the door is there. I have to walk by him. I walk by him and I look at him. I'm like, were you really going to stare at me the whole night and not say anything? And he like stuttered, you know, and he's like, yeah, I'm sorry. Like, I'm new to this whole like picking up girls thing, you know, like he was being very vulnerable. And for most girls, they'd be like, oh, whatever. But it works for me. And I found it kind of charming and like sweet and innocent. I'm like, wow, he's such a good guy. I don't know him. He could be a piece of shit and he could be lying to me. But that, it just worked for me and it intrigued me. And so I'm like, do you want my number or not? And he threw his phone at me and we texted and we obviously met up afterwards and things like that. So it worked out, right? Well, you have to find opportunities. And I find that like, I don't know how we got into this, but you know, there are certain moments where it's like, I just utilized who I am and me, it's being abrasive. If that guy told me, fuck off, ew, I wasn't looking at you, I'd have been like, that's awkward. Sorry. Have a great rest of your night. And just like, let it roll off my fucking shoulder. Ew, I don't like someone that has that attitude anyways, you know? So I think people are scared of relationships because they're scared of rejection because they're insecure. They play these games because they're insecure. You guys are just insecure. That's why you love social media so much, because you need to stunt and fake it because who you are is not good enough for you, apparently. It's actually fucking heartbreaking, you know?
I think it's been a great stream so far with approaching an hour. And before we do get out of here, I have a subscriber and I said I have to ask this question because he wrote multiple paragraphs. So because I did promote that I was going to be doing this. So
with me?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
So he does have a question.
Okay.
Let me get this question up right now. Said I would get this. So he was asking how, from a guy who was he was with this girl and he did not like the sex anymore. He also said she was fragile, so he had to cut it off because of that. And he eventually he's into stocks now and everything, so he's doing good for himself. But he said, how does he get back into dating as someone who was once formerly an incel? How would he get back into dating?
Okay, well, first of all, stop identifying as a man who was whatever he was. All right. Like, I think that's the biggest thing. I have a lot of people who are, you know, recently divorced, who are my clients. And the first thing they tell me is, I am divorced. I don't give a shit if you're divorced. What does it matter if you're divorced? Okay. What does it matter? Tell me you have kids. Okay. We can talk about that. That will pose some issues with certain women. But why do you come in there with I identify as divorced? Enough. You're putting yourself in a box. So if you already think all these things about you, you know, I had this relationship and I had to cut it off and I'm successful here, but I was originally an incel and this and that. Like, okay, this is why you come in. I'm sure women feel that from you. Okay, that's not who you are necessarily. It was a part of, you know, a moment in time, a fraction of time. Fuck it. Okay. So you do the same thing that every normal person does. Why do you think you're so different? You know, like that's the first thing I say. Wake up. Like you're not, you know, worse than others or like, unless you want to be. And a lot of people do. That's the truth. They like to be, oh, poor me, I'm this, or I hate me. You know, they love that. And that's you standing in your own way of getting anyone of normal, decent, you know, quality. So get on the apps, go out there. Now, where are you going and how are you using the apps? I always talk about intention. Okay. What do you want? What do you want? Like tell yourself, ask yourself in the mirror, don't tell me. If you want to just fuck around, okay. So know that that is your intention when you get on the apps and when you go out, right? That's how you date. If you want something serious, you say, my intention is to date seriously, not waste my time. So where are you going? That's going to be different than just fucking around. And how are you using the apps? It's going to be different, right? The strategy changes based off of your intention. So if you have an actual intention, you can tailor your strategy and how you date. And that's going to actually give you a selection of the right people more so than the wrong people. Some guys go out there and say, balls to the wall, whatever happens, happens. Whoever I attract, I'll figure it out. And that is why you end up getting frustrated. And that actually gives you dating fatigue. It's a real thing. Dating fatigue, app fatigue, right? You guys get over it. You start abusing it. Nothing feels good. Nothing's fulfilling, no meaning. Same thing with porn consumption, right? What we abuse, we eventually lose. And if we continue behaving this way or doing these things with no intention and balls to the wall and stupid, you know, mentality, then that's what you're going to get in return. You're going to get nothing. You're going to get pissed off and you're going to hate women even more. Like that's the fucking truth. So if he's coming out of there, he has to figure out what his intentions are and he has to come up with, you know, am I going to get on an app? Is that too much for me while going out? Maybe I'll just stick to one. Okay. And I'll take breaks in between. You don't have to make this your mission. And, you know, my biggest point, and it's going to be a little bit counterintuitive and maybe some people won't understand it. If you are looking to date and dating is your number one priority, that is why you'll never be able to date. If you put dating as the most important thing, finding your person is the most important thing, you're going to reek of desperate energy, which is unattractiveness, period. Yeah. Even if you play it cool, people can smell it through the phone. I'm telling you. You know, I'm sure you've experienced this where you've like everything's good on paper, but there's just something. There's just something, I don't know, or suddenly the text just like something feels weird. I'm telling you, it's a real fucking thing. If you have other things going for you and dating is something that you're like, you know what, I would love to have and I'll make time for it, but I'm not going to sacrifice everything else that makes up who I am. You're going to be a healthy candidate and you're going to be attractive to more people. It's that simple. It's easier said than done, though. It's easier said than done.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of stuff about Canada and it being a pretty positive place to live. What would you say dating is like in Canada?
Okay. So I haven't seen all of Canada, to be honest with you, but I was born and kind of raised in Toronto, and that is... I mean, we're known to not be great daters, just like any big city really is. So you've got the little hoes, the Instagram, want to be famous people. And then you've got the douchebags and you've got the, want to be gangsters and the dorks, and you've got it all, right? So in a way, a big city gives you more option, but a lot of people tend to kind of all mush together and end up having the same lifestyle, same social life, same friend circles, which also creates an issue because then it's just like you're dating within the friend circles, which I never recommend. So, dating in Toronto, not easy, but possible. I've had several long-term relationships in Toronto, in and out of the city, but, in Toronto nonetheless. Nothing is different. People think that it's a lot different. Oh, I got to move to a city. My man's in a different city. My woman's in a different city. you're still going to come across the same issues. Like, it's a little bit unrealistic, you know? Okay, if you go to Europe, mentality is different. And sometimes that works for certain people. Eastern European girls come to the United States or to North America and they're like, ew, these are not men. You know, it's mentality. So I wouldn't say it's different. And Canada's not the most amazing place, you know? It's not.
Well, with that being said, I'd like to thank you for coming on. I appreciate your vulnerability. I appreciate you being open. I appreciate your perspective as a sex coach and just as a human being in general. I appreciate your perspective and your insights that you did share. I learned some things myself. Is there any final message you would want to give to the people watching this?
Not really. Just be respectful, be smart, think twice, you know, make decisions that your kids will be proud of, that you'll be proud of in the future, however you want to phrase it, whatever works in your head. And do things now that will benefit you in the future. I always like to think of my future self and say, she'll be proud, or like, she'll be thankful I did this, get this shit out of the way, you know, go to therapy, take care of myself so that when I'm older, I'm not dealing with the remnants of shit that I didn't do. So I think be proactive, you know, stop being lazy and discipline all the way. It's not about being passionate or motivated. I think just being really disciplined with yourself, both in dating and life. And I think that, you know, you'll start to see things work in your favor.
Okay. Well, Eden, thank you for joining. I appreciate everyone who watched this video. Take care of yourselves and have a blessed day.
Thank you. Bye.